Hopefully this will put a spotlight really on this restaurant and bring in some customers because they are back open despite what happened. While most of us were sleeping at 4:30 this morning, this burglar was on the prowl. Only open for 2 days. Soul Vibes Signature in Chicago's River North neighborhood says the burglar had the nerve to have really expensive taste.
You know, one of the saddest things about all the talk that we hear related to black solidarity in the United States of America, how black people have this connection like no other ethnic group, is that it's actually 100% a lie. It's not true. It's never been true. It's absolutely embarrassing when you think about it. And a perfect example of this is this black-owned restaurant in the city of Chicago that was open for 2 days before somebody who probably is black, although he was all masked up and he had his face covered, broke in, tore up the place, and stole everything of value that he could find. And this is absolutely devastating because I've actually been going through the social media of this restaurant, which is called Soul Vibes in Chicago. And one of the things that I discovered is that the grand opening was essentially put on by a husband and wife owner, a solid black family that just wanted to have a part of their culture expanded into the city. And honestly, the restaurant and the food looks great. I recommend if you're in and around the area and you're into soul food, you actually give them a chance, because it shouldn't be the case that immediately upon opening a business, somebody from the community that you wish to serve decides that they're going to rob you and cause as much destruction as humanly possible during the course of said robbery. However, this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
Now, this is the surveillance video inside the restaurant in the 400 block of North Wells. You see the burglar making his way through the restaurant. He had a huge knife, a kitchen knife, right in his hands. He used it to cut the cords for the surveillance system, but cameras still captured his every move. He also used the knife to get away with $500 from the cash registers.
So I want to point out a couple of things about this particular surveillance video related to this particular robbery. And first and foremost, the thing that should jump out to you is the fact that this guy used as a burglary tool a kitchen knife that apparently he found at the location. Now, of course, many of people on the left wing will classify this as a quote-unquote non-violent crime. Nobody was punched in the face after all, even though, again, we're going to find out that despite the fact that he only was able to steal about $500, thus making it a petty theft if it were a regular ordinary theft and not a burglary, which would classify it as a misdemeanor. In reality, I just want you to imagine this newly opened business where people come in, they put in long hours in order to launch it, as is seen in a great number of the social media videos associated with promoting the launch of this business. If somebody would have stumbled into this particular robbery while this guy has the knife in hand, apparently, by the way, if you guys are unaware, this robber is suspected to be a same robber that committed a crime at a similar time in a similar style in a neighboring restaurant in and around this area. But just imagine you show up to work to actually do work to provide for your community and you encounter this knife-wielding man, how quickly it can turn to violence, how quickly you could end up getting stabbed up by this individual, which is one of the reasons why the classification of non-violent crime is actually quite useless in most scenarios, because as I've said multiple times on this channel, non-violent doesn't mean victimless, and many a times what we ultimately end up finding out when a supposedly non-violent criminal is confronted or encounters a person that they're not expecting, they immediately escalate to violence. So yeah, this is obviously horrible. We're going to hear a bit from one of the owners, but again, this is a husband and wife team that you can see on social media, not just setting up the restaurant in terms of unboxing stuff, but actually putting in the booths, going to Home Depot, putting in the work in order to launch this business, only for somebody within their own community to rob the business.
He took knives and he just bam through everything, took out all the cash drawers, the money, he took liquor. He went through the liquors and chose the liquors that he wanted, you know, like Don Julio, like the expensive liquors. He didn't just we're sitting here talking about a picky thief.
So this is obviously Larissa Baker. She is the wife in the husband and wife tandem that runs this particular restaurant. And as you can see from some of the B-roll of this restaurant, it is actually quite nice. It is a good location, or it looks like a good location. It's just unfortunately serving a community that is not a good community. And again, I opened this video by talking about the myth of black solidarity, the idea that they're one united high trust group. But in reality, the thing that often separates black Americans from Koreans, Armenians, Jewish people, certain Middle Eastern people, certain groups of Indians that are in the United States of America is themselves, their own actions. There was no hesitation at all whatsoever to rob and tear up this location, and it's absolutely tragic because, again, if you watch the videos of people actually enjoying their experience here, you can see that a lot of black people are having a good time at this restaurant. And again, I will emphasize, if you're in and around this area of Chicago, Soul Vibes, just check it out. Support somebody who's trying to do right in the community. Support a solid black family that's opening a business, because they don't deserve to be treated like this. But unfortunately, it is what it is. That's the Chicago way. And yeah, not only do we expect this to go on repeatedly, we also expect very little consequences for the innocent Beba Angel nonviolent criminal who apparently only had a taste for high-end liquors in this particular location.
And it didn't stop there. The owners say the suspect cut through locks, security systems, and wiring, damaging the restaurant's computer and point-of-sale systems. After doing some digging, they believe the same person may have targeted another nearby restaurant at a similar time a few months ago. But despite the setback, the owners say they are determined to reopen as quickly as possible and continue serving the community with the love, laughter, and some really amazing soul food.
So one of the things that I often like to highlight when we talk about these kind of robberies or these kind of crimes is all the unnecessary damage. This guy ripped up their POS system. It's not like you're going to steal that. It's not like you're going to be able to take that and sell it to a pawn shop or another restaurant. The POS system is typically tied to the account of the actual restaurant that you're robbing. And yet this guy decided to cut through any wires that he could possibly find, under the impression that he would cut the surveillance cameras, thus aiding his escape. But the thing is, even though he's captured on camera, the likelihood of him being caught, arrested, and held accountable for this crime is extraordinarily low, because A, burglaries actually have among the lowest clearance rate of any crime in the United States of America, but it's also lower than average in the city of Chicago. And again, he already got away with this a month ago. Like, what is the point of all of this damage? What's the point of flinging all these coins on the ground? But in reality, this guy was willing to destroy whatever it took in order to get that instant gratification and, of course, those premium liquors, and it's absolutely embarrassing. But again, I will also add on to this that while they're going to focus on the amount of money that was stolen in this particular burglary, and typically theft is measured on what was taken in terms of the value of the items or the cash that was stolen, that when you actually break down what went down in this particular restaurant robbery, you realize that the damage is many multiples times what was actually stolen.
It's gonna cost us roughly anywhere from like $1,000 to $2,000 to get everything back up and running, and he pretty much probably only got out of here with like $300 to $500 worth of cash or product, right? So he did all this for $500. In the long end, it costs us, the business owners, over $2,000 probably to get all this stuff back and up and running.
Now again, that may not sound like a lot, but the thing is, restaurants are notorious for low profit margins, so obviously any little bit definitely hurts. In addition to that, they're operating a business in the city of Chicago. Left-wing cities are absolutely notorious for absurd fines and fees, all these different restrictions and regulations, so you're already taking a business with low probability of success. Many restaurants go out of business within the first year, a bunch of them go out of business within the first 5 years, and you're immediately day 3, because this happened 2 days after the opening, at around 4:30 in the morning on the third day, a huge setback again in their restaurant, not to mention the fact that a robbery sometimes will make people think that this neighborhood is not a good area. But of course, I'm pushing for people to support this business if they're in and around the area. I'm not saying you should fly to Chicago to go to it, but if you're a fan of soul food already, and they seem to be good at what they're doing, and they were afflicted by this criminal, it's very important to not not let the criminal types win, especially when, again, you have a good family-owned business in and around this area just trying to succeed, obviously putting in work in order to make the environment at least enjoyable for their customers, then yeah, a little bit of support goes a long way, especially after a situation like this, especially because these people want to have that solidarity and that community within the black community in the city of Chicago, but unfortunately the impediments to the community are being allowed to run free. They're not being charged, they're not being prosecuted, and this is partially due to the fact that you have Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson thinking of the victim of this particular crime as some kind of evil capitalist perpetrator, while of course the criminal is an innocent Bubba Angel Aladdin. He needed those expensive liquors in order to feed his starving children, because I don't know if you guys know this, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but house tequila versus Don Julio, not very nutritious for your little black bebes at home. You need to get the good stuff, the premium stuff, in order to spike their milk bottle, because that's definitely 100% what was going on here. So yeah, it's really sad, it's very unfortunate, but it is an instructive lesson that you can't just manufacture solidarity or high trust within a community. It has to already exist. It has to be built over time if it doesn't exist. And yeah, unfortunately in Black America, they have not reached the point where they've gotten beyond talking about solidarity to actually practicing it. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness of operating a business in Chicago. Till next time.